Hellraiser, the 2022 version, is a reboot of the Hellraiser franchise and is directed by David Bruckner, who recently directed The Night House last year, which was one of my favorite horror movies of 2021. So naturally, I was very excited to see what he would bring to the table with this film. This essentially follows a girl named Riley who finds the box and opens it up, and things start to go crazy. And I don't want to go too much into it because a lot of stuff happens, and I didn't see the promos for it, so I'm not really sure what all it shows, but essentially you get another Hellraiser movie, which is funny of me to say because I didn't see the original one until last night. I did a double feature with that and this one. And so I knew about Pinhead for many, many years, obviously a very iconic character in the horror mythos, but I didn't really see the Hellraiser movies for a long time, but then I finally watched it and I really enjoyed the original one. I think it's a lot tamer in some respects, but at the end of the day, it's still a horror movie and there's some creepy imagery that definitely stays with you. But going into 2022, I had the excitement of the Bruckner team going in, but also because I don't know if a lot of people know this, but I watched Sense8 years ago and I thought Jamie Clayton was a massive standout, and so I've been sort of waiting for the day when someone would have her be in a role that was pretty monumental, and so Pinhead, played by Clayton, is kind of a big plus in that regard. And she is fantastic, by the way. Let's get that out of the way. She's a terrific Pinhead. She has this ominous presence throughout the entire film that's wonderfully done. And even the voice work that is there, this deeper, darker voice that she's got put on, is really, really great. I mean, it's one of those things where the movie's on Hulu, and I kind of wish it was in a theater because it would have just boomed off the speakers, that kind of voice. Very similar to what Doug Bradley did with the original Pinhead. But she's magnetic in the film, and the film is wonderfully directed as well. I think there are some issues, I'll talk more about that later, but I can honestly say I had a solid time with the new Hellraiser. Bruckner really does a great job of making these sequences really, really horrific at times. It's a lot of gore, there's a lot of really edgy imagery, to say it the least. It definitely goes for the blood, and when it does, it's magnificent. This movie does not hold back when it comes to some very grotesque stuff, and if you're somebody who wants that, then I think you're going to be very happy with this film. Ben Lovett's score is also really, really great. He did a great job on The Night House as well earlier, and I think over here he tops that in some respects. There are some magnificent cues, particularly in the second half of the movie when the shit really starts going down. That is really, really well executed. As for the Cenobites themselves, there's you have to make them also as creepy as you can, and I think the movie accomplishes that too. All the stuff that you get with these very fucked up environments and things are genuinely really, really great. The stuff that you actually get with the characters too, for the most part, is good, although I would say the weakest element of the film was some of the characterization, and that's mostly in the first half of the movie because it's setting up certain things that the characters are going through, and there are times where you have a hard time kind of rooting for them, which I guess is the movie's point, but you don't really get a chance to sympathize with any of them for a long time, and or try and form any meaningful connection with them. Riley you get close to at times, and that definitely enhances a little bit as the movie progresses, but the movie could have probably used a little bit more of that, especially since the first half of the movie is a lot of that. Like the actual horror stuff that you've come to see, it's in there too, but it really starts to kick in much later in the movie. Before that, it's a lot of setting up to that, which is similar to the first Hellraiser as well. But I think that could have been a little more strengthened. While I think the direction over there was good, I thought the writing could have been a bit stronger in that respect. So eventually when the deaths start happening, you could have used a little bit more in terms of I would have liked to know a little bit more about that person. That being said, at the end of the day, when when you're finally getting to the things that you do want to get to, the film still manages to give you just enough to be like, okay, I know that this character means this, so I feel like this character is someone I shouldn't feel should be in trouble right now. It's that sort of a thing, if that makes any sense to you. It's very minimum. As for the rest of the film, it's also wonderfully shot. There's some spectacular visuals on display. Like I said, a lot of that stuff when it just hits in the second half or so, which I feel like I'm constantly saying, like, hold on. Like, I think patience is something you might need, because if you're expecting things out the gate, it's a 2-hour movie, it's longer than the original one, then I feel like you might be a little short pressed, like, all right, where's the stuff, But when it gets there, make no mistake, the film fires on all cylinders. So it's definitely a film that requires some build up, but it is engaging throughout, and even with those flaws here and there that I mentioned with some of the characterization, at the end of it, you're able to get a very satisfying horror film that manages to deliver in pretty much all respects. I'm curious as to what fans are gonna think of the franchise. Like, what are their thoughts on it? But I can say that I had a pretty solid time watching it. I loved Pinhead's performance once again. Jamie Clayton killed it. I loved the scares, I loved the gore. I love Bruckner's direction. He is still doing really well in my book. I think some areas could have been improved on, but in the end, I am quite pleased with it. And I'm gonna give Hellraiser 2022 an 8 out of 10. Seriously, there is such a banger of a second half. I mean, I'm not even exaggerating on that, like, I'm hyping it up, but it's really cool. Guys, thank you very much for watching. Look forward to more reviews very soon. I am still going to talk about Amsterdam, which is, I'm going to be seeing it in a few hours. Looking forward to it, even though I've heard some comments, but we'll see. As always, if you like this, guys, please do subscribe. Thank you very much once again, and I'll see you guys at the movies.